You ever move somewhere thinking you've finally outrun all the chaos, only to realize you've just stepped right into the belly of a different beast? Yeah, that was me. I still remember that first slap of late September air, the kind that smells like burning leaves and maybe, if you're lucky, a little bit of freedom. I just rolled up my old Chevy to this farmhouse out past Asheville, North Carolina, 4 acres hugged by oaks and pines, not a neighbor in sight, or so I thought. This place was supposed to be my reset button after the mess of a divorce, after years of condos and fake smiles in suburban HOA land. I didn't want anyone up in my business, telling me what kind of mailbox to buy, or how many times a year I could repaint my shed. I wanted my quiet, my dogs, and some peace. The house wasn't fancy, but it was solid. 2 stories, a wraparound porch where you could actually hear the wind, a pond tucked in the back. I could do my work as a remote structural engineer with coffee in hand, birds instead of traffic for background noise. The closest neighbors were just specks across the ridge. I figured, perfect, no one to bug me. Only, I was wrong. Dead wrong. Because on my very first week, Trouble literally walked up my driveway dressed like she owned the place. She looked like she'd stepped out of a LL Bean catalog. Mid-50s, khaki pants, clipboard in a death grip, attitude for days. You the new owner? Not a hello, not a welcome, just straight to business. Yeah, that's me, Lucas, I replied. She didn't tell me her name, just pursed her lips like the weeds along my road had personally insulted her. You're gonna need to cut those down. It's outside acceptable visual standards. I blinked. Visual standards? I almost laughed, but she was dead serious. Then she pointed at my fence. Did you get approval for that? Approval from who? From the HOA. She snapped, like that was obvious. Now, you gotta picture me, standing in the dirt, sweat dripping down my brow, thinking this is some kind of prank. There is no HOA here. That's literally why I bought the damn place. But she looked at me like I'd grown a third eye. My husband's the president of Ridgewood Hills HOA. Just through those woods, she said, gesturing vaguely. This area may not be inside the subdivision, but you're part of the visual corridor. It affects property values. You'll want to cooperate. Then she spun around and disappeared into the trees like she'd just passed judgment on a peasant. And buddy, that was just the first taste. Over the next week, this woman, Karen, I'd learned soon enough, showed up 3 more times. Once to comment on my curtains, once to leave a note about my dogs being anxiety-inducing, and once to stand at the end of my driveway taking pictures of my porch. I tried to keep it neighborly, told her politely to stop coming on my property, explained for the 100th time I wasn't under Ridgewood Hills or any HOA. She just doubled down. One morning, I caught her actually leaning on my truck, peering through the windshield like she was looking for a bomb. Making sure there aren't any code violations, she said, like that was a normal thing to do to someone else's car. That's when I realized she didn't just think she had power, she needed to wield it. And it didn't matter if the law was on my side. It was Chuck down the road, a crusty old cowboy with 2 horses and a stubborn streak, who gave me the first real warning. She's tried to expand that damn HOA for years, he told me, shaking his head. Last fall, she claimed my shed violated some guideline. Had to get the sheriff out here to put her in her place. But she's like poison ivy, son. Just when you think you got rid of her, she crops up somewhere else. Sure enough, Karen started up her one-woman campaign. Flyers on my gate about non-conforming structures, made-up inspection committees, notes shoved in my mailbox and slid under my door. The gall of this woman, I started saving them, labeled a folder in my filing cabinet lunacy. Then came the escalation. She began telling neighbors I was unstable, that my dogs were dangerous, that I was setting up security cameras for some kind of military-grade operation. By the end of my first month, I was the town boogeyman, all thanks to her paranoia. So I installed more cameras, and sure enough, I caught her, on video, trespassing, taking photos, crouching to snap a low angle of my dog. Unless you're filming a nature documentary, Karen, you should probably move along. I shouted from the porch. She jumped, huffed, and retreated, but I knew better than to think it was over. The next day, a new player entered the field. Black SUV, county logo. Wayne Copeland, Land Use Department, he said, flashing a clipboard. We received a complaint about unpermitted structures. I didn't have to ask who sent it. He poked around, tried to get me to admit I'd built something recently. I handed him a fat folder. Deed, pre-purchase reports, lawyers' letters. He left grumbling, but I could see the gears turning. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just Karen on a power trip. She had help. County help. Maybe more. I started talking to the neighbors. Marcy, who bred border collies and drank her coffee blacker than midnight, had been through the same mess. Karen's had Copeland on speed dial since her husband joined the HOA board, Marcy told me. She files a complaint, he makes it stick. Been going on for years. I felt the ground shifting beneath me. This wasn't just personal, it was orchestrated. I lawyered up. Hired a private investigator named Celine, tough as boot leather, with the kind of smile that makes grown men check their wallets. She got to work, and what she found made my skin crawl. Karen wasn't just some meddling neighbor. She and a guy named Ray Buckner, a convicted fraudster, had a little scheme going. They'd harass homeowners outside the HOA, file fake documents, clog up the titles so nobody could sell or refinance, then scoop up the land dirt cheap through shell companies. She'd done it to at least 4 others. My place was next on the list. The evidence was damning. Photos, bank records, emails, even a voice recording of Karen laughing about compliance pricing. My lawyer, Graham, nearly choked when he saw it all. This isn't just civil harassment, Lucas. If we stack this right, it's wire fraud. RICO. Maybe prison time. I wasn't looking for revenge, just my life back. But Graham was right. If I didn't stand up, she'd keep rolling through victims. So we went on the offensive. Filed a restraining order. Served her in person, with a sheriff's deputy for backup. Karen looked at me like I was the villain, not her. You're playing with fire, she hissed. Then I guess we'll see who gets burned. I shot back. But she didn't stop, just switched tactics. Weaponized a wellness check, called the sheriff claiming I was unstable, dangerous. I showed the deputy my medical records and my sock-obsessed dog. Wouldn't be the first time someone weaponized a call, he said, shaking his head. Graham filed for a permanent order the next morning. The judge granted it. Karen was officially barred from coming within 300 feet of me or my property. Mitch, her husband, a mountain of a man, ex-Marine, showed up at my gate the same night, ready to throw hands. We tussled in the gravel, blood and pride everywhere, until I got him pinned and made him watch the evidence. I'll never forget the look in his eyes when he realized the woman he'd been defending was a con artist, not a crusader. He helped us after that, handed over Karen's files, thumb drives, everything. Turns out, she had a spreadsheet labeled targets, color-coded victims, tactics, everything. My name was in red, underlined. We brought it all to the DA. Testimonies, bank records, audio, the works. The county opened a probe. Karen's web started to unravel. Her county contact, Copeland, put on leave. Neighbors came forward, stories poured in. We had her dead to rights. The day of the hearing, Karen showed up polished and icy, but she couldn't talk her way out. The judge granted the permanent restraining order, sent the case up for criminal charges, and ordered a full audit. Within weeks, the whole neighborhood changed. No more anonymous flyers. No more paranoia. People started knocking on my door with pie and potluck invites, not to thank me, but to ask, how did this happen? And it wasn't that Karen took power. It's that everyone just let her, one silent complaint at a time. Mitch moved out. We're not friends, but we nod now. He even gave me a bonsai for my kitchen window, stubborn and half dead, like both of us. Karen tried to cut a deal, turned over her contacts, got 12 years, no parole before 7. Her name went viral. New state law now requires audits and limits on HOA power. That fence she screamed about? Still standing, with a new sign, Karen Free Zone, private property. Peace resides here. Some folks laugh, some call it petty, but the ones who know, they get it. Because peace isn't something you're handed, it's something you defend. And if you've ever tangled with a bully who hides behind fake rules, you know exactly what I mean. So tell me, how would you handle it if someone tried to take your home out from under you? Would you fight? Would you run? Drop your story below. Let's hear how you define justice. And hey, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share where you're watching from. You never know, your story might be next.